This is Braun Strowman, the monster among men, and you're listening to the Bob Culture Podcast with your host, Rob!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special 2019 Royal Rumble edition of the Bob Culture Podcast. If you're ready to go right now, you are listening to music from It Lives, It Breathes, Sami Zayn's theme, Worlds Apart, performed, of course, by my good friends It Lives, It Breathes. Check them out on iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. As always, guys, thanks for letting me use your tunage. And we have a very, very special edition. First, I'd like to, yes, we got the shameless promo with the Bob Culture Podcast stickers, which you could get with a $1 donation to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/BobCulturePodcast. But enough of the shameless plugs. I am so excited to see the return of a future first ballot Bob Culture Hall of Famer himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Urig back on the show. What's up, Tim?
Hey, thanks.
Please.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be back. Ready to go, pumped up. Let's do this.
Let's do this. But first, of course, we have to welcome back the anti-smart from popbreak.com himself, one of my favorite writers, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Matthew Widdis. What's up, Matt?
Hey, yo.
Doing, man? Everything good?
All good.
All right. And, of course, back after a fantastic debut. I'm glad to have him back. I haven't even said hi to you. How are you, Chris? Chris Demarco, everybody. How's it going,
everybody? Glad to be back. Hopefully you do better than my predictions last time. I think I went over 1,000.
No, man, you made the cut. No, we couldn't find anybody else. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you made the cut.
Can only go up. Can only go up. You'll be all right.
That's all right.
One way to go.
You made the cut. Now we have a very special edition. We are currently loading WWE 2K19, and we will be playing some Rumble matches as we discuss our predictions. So I'm very excited about that. Getting this thing going. Chris, tell them how they can follow you guys on Podcast Dummies, all that good stuff.
So you go to twitch.tv/podcast dummies. Make sure you hit that heart button up there and make sure you subscribe to us. But follow us on all social media, of course, at Podcast Dummies on Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, all of it.
Awesome. Good stuff. You guys ready to go?
If you're ready, we're ready. Let's do this.
All right. As always, here on the Bob Culture Podcast, you guys know the deal. We go ladies first, and we're getting right into it. If you notice my shirt. The man. That's right. We have Becky Lynch versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You know what, Tim? Welcome back. Let's start with you. What do you think about this match, and who do you think is going to walk out SmackDown Women's Champion?
Yeah, so I'm pumped for this match. I think it could be a show stealer. I think it could be fantastic. And anytime that we talk Rumble, I always think, what are they trying to build for the future? Because remember, this is the official start to the road to WrestleMania. So, if they open the show with this, I think it'll steal the show. But for some reason, I think they're gonna open the show with the Women's Rumble. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. But I mean, it really depends because it's all gonna intertwine. If you're asking me for a prediction, I think Asuka is going to take it, but I don't think it's gonna be clean. I think something's gonna happen. There's been a lot of Charlotte Flair stuff going on the live shows, so I think you'll get a victory from Asuka, but it's not going to be clean. It'll be DQ or something where she retains.
Really well said. I'm kind of on the same page. But first, let's throw it over, of course, live via satellite to Chris Demarco.
Oh boy. I was stunned last year when Asuka won the whole Rumble, considering like the lack of mic skills. Same thing that you said about the road to WrestleMania. You kind of feel like you need someone to carry the mic, carry the feud for the casual fan. But I don't know. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if Asuka won it again. But then again, I was wrong last time, so I'm gonna go Becky Lynch.
Think Becky Lynch is gonna get the title back. All right, very interesting. The anti-smart Matt Widdis. What do you got?
Oh yeah. I'm also going with Becky. Like I said, they're building towards something. She is the hottest commodity going right now. But like Tim touched upon, there's two other women that are in this match that aren't in this match. You got Ronda and Charlotte. How did Asuka get the belt in the first place? That stuff's still lingering out there. Somebody, these four are probably going to see some sort of combination of that at WrestleMania. Everybody's looking at Charlotte and Ronda where's Becky going to go? And yeah, I think Becky takes this one.
You think Becky?
I think she goes in there with the belt, chin out, belt held up high, with the swagger that she had over the last couple of months when she was champ, and that's going to be part of the presser. That's going to be part of the junket, and that's what she goes in with.
Interesting. All right. See, I thought you guys were going to go a little bit the other direction. I'm going to go with Tim a little bit more on this one. Like he says, Charlotte has kept inserting herself into the confrontations between Asuka and Becky Lynch. I see that somehow playing out. Of course, we also have the Ronda Rousey factor. That long-standing feud match never happened between Becky and Ronda. I see shenanigans. I see Asuka not losing the title so quickly. And I think that is going to possibly lead to Becky inserting herself into the women's Royal Rumble match, as we had previously discussed on the TLC show. I think Chris brought it up. Peyton Royce is coming to the ring. Zelina Vega throws her down, takes her spot. And as Chris had said, that Stone Cold-esque run, getting that Royal Rumble win, it writes itself, like we said last time, could face Ronda, And I thought, that could be a very cool idea to move forward. I know we're jumping into it, but, I thought I was throwing a curveball at you guys, but apparently I'm not alone in this thought process. It's a very popular opinion, and I'm like, I'm gonna come at. But we'll talk about that more a little bit later.
Well,
but
and the current rumors regarding Ronda and tenure.
Yeah, right, and other stuff going on. Real quick, Matt. I want to mention this to you, not to throw you a spotlight on you real quick, but you had mentioned something to me last time before the podcast about, we were talking about Becky's popularity, and you had said something about Charlotte Flair's.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that, or no? You don't have to.
I mean,
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no, it's watch it. Becky is, first off, she's fantastic in about everything she does. She's finally getting her due after some time on the back burner. She is kind of the hottest commodity in the business overall. Not maybe right now than over the last few months, definitely. But she is not the company ace of the women's division. That is still Charlotte. Not just in the eyes of the management, but if you watch just their body language out there when they're in the ring together, 2 promos in a match and Charlotte can take that away. If they weren't friends, if there was something on the line there, you can see it. It's when other people try to talk over Becky, and when Charlotte tries to talk over Becky, the entire arena stops and listens.
No, I thought that was very interesting. Obviously, as you can see from my shirt, I'm on the Becky train right now.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was very interesting.
And, I have Becky and maybe Tessa Blanchard as number 2 and 2A, but Charlotte's still number 1 woman in the world.
Yeah, very interesting. Good stuff.
It's going to be interesting what they want to do moving forward. Because, we talked a lot in the past about them building up to this fight that they wanted to have all along, which is, Charlotte versus Ronda. So right now they got that little storyline where Charlotte's interfering in anything that she can interfere with. So if they plan on doing that, something's got to give moving forward. So if you want to do that and move Charlotte over to Raw, then you have to have somebody to carry the women's belt on SmackDown, and Becky's perfect for that. So, I know my pick is Asuka. I think it's going to be just not a clean win, but it'll be interesting because if they go with their original plan, which was seemingly to go with Charlotte and Ronda Rousey at Mania, then you need Becky Lynch to carry that for right now. So I'm really interested in this, and like I said, I think it could steal the show.
Really well said. Very interesting. So we have 2 Asukas and 2 Beckys.
Yep.
Very interesting. All right, keeping it interesting right out of the gate. Guys, let's go to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. I'm excited for this one. We have Dabar. We are Dabar. Nice. Versus, of course, the new team of The Miz and Shane McMahon. Could be fun. Let's throw it over to Matt. What do you think about this match? Who's walking out with the SmackDown Tag Team titles?
You know what? Leading up to it all this time, I would have thought that, Bar retains some sort of that, famous miscommunication, and it's Miz versus Shane going into WrestleMania. I mean, that's what better scenario could he ask than those two? But I don't know. They got the beat down. So, they get the comeuppance on the pay-per-view. And if you had told anybody 4 years ago that the crowd would feel sympathy for Miz right after booing Daniel Bryan out of the building. But hey, both those guys are so good that they were able to make it happen. I see Miz and Shane.
Yeah. I'll piggyback on that one. I think this will be the title change. This paper. I just don't see any reason for Sheamus and Cesaro to hold on to it right now. We've been kind of going back and forth with that the bar versus the New Day versus the Usos, back and forth. I think this tag idea is fun. I think it's fresh. There's a little bit of comedy involved. He's a McMahon. That doesn't hurt his case. I believe Shane has never held any tag titles. Correct me if I'm wrong. What has Shane held? Hardcore.
That's good trivia.
European Championship.
Okay. Hardcore champion.
I think he had the hardcore.
He's the greatest wrestler in the world.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
right?
yes.
That's the only title he won.
It's great. Yeah, Miz is 75%. I think that's. I'll go with Miz and Shane just to shake a little bit. Fresh tag team. As we always say, let's get sanity involved down the road and all that good stuff. Of course, we have a lot of call-ups going on. We'll get that in a little bit. Let's throw it over to Chris. What do you think about this match?
So the tag teams, I think I talked about this last time. That's my soapbox because we grew up, we're all relatively the same age. We grew up with the TLC matches and the Hardys and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. So I feel that the tag teams are so criminally underutilized compared to even NXT, their counterpart. So what I'm saying is championships are supposed to be your most credible sources. And the Bar's already lost the tag titles to a 10-year-old boy, like within the past 365 days.
I love that. I think I'm the only one. I thought that was great.
It had its merits.
Go ahead,
For the love of God, I think you're right. It's going to be some combination of, at some point, the slow build to them versus Shane versus Miz at WrestleMania, I think, starts here. So I think the Bar is going to have to retain, and this is where the breakup happened. There's a heel turn one way or another. I'd be shocked if it was Shane turning on The Miz, since The Miz has kind of garnered some positive heat over the past couple of weeks.
Interesting. And I don't know if I had said this before. Also, Cesaro and Sheamus, fantastic as single stars.
Oh yeah,
great.
Well,
great
we've been saying it for years that Cesaro is underutilized as a singles competitor, and Sheamus, he's had his history, and he's been great anytime that he's held titles.
Grand Slammer, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Cesaro, throughout his career, his biggest successes has been tag team, but yeah, he can run it on his own. He's fantastic to watch.
That'd be quite the swerve. Everyone's expecting The Miz and Shane to break up after this match, but if it's the other ones that split, that'd be interesting.
If it's some sort of turn on each other, that'd be
and Tim,
shocker.
Tim, I think you said the exact same thing on the Royal Rumble podcast 1 year ago from today. About Cesaro. No, about Cesaro. Yeah, it being underutilized.
Yeah. I mean, I've been advocating that for a while, but we've seen him in indie stuff in the past, and it's just awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, who do you think's walking out the SmackDown tag team champs?
I'm a little shocked that we all kind of went the same direction, but I think that you've been building up a lot. Can we agree that The Miz is going to be a Hall of Famer for WWE?
Oh,
that dude has been fantastic on the mic. He's been just amazing for years, and
criminally unutilized.
Yeah, and I mean, he had that long run as the IC champion where he was just like the show for a long time.
Yeah, one week away from having every record you could have, the IC belt, and
so I think it's going to go that way. I think it'll be Miz and Shane. Just make sure that they all hit their spots. I want to see Shane go, off the top rope, coast to coast. I want to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so hit your spots and make it a good match. And then if we see some sort of turn with Cesaro and Sheamus, I think it'll work out great.
All right, interesting. Let's go into some of these kickoff matches. Let's start with the U.S. title. We have Rusev, the new United States champion, versus another guy who's kind of been underutilized lately. Nice, Tim.
Got the bump going.
Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I think, again, with it being on the pre-show as well, I think Rusev retains. Samoa Joe, I think, is a nice guy to have in line to take that title in the future. Short and sweet. Let's throw it over to Chris. What do you think about that one?
I love that Samoa Joe call. That was good. So yeah, it's definitely like a warm up or a cool down match, maybe like in between a Rumble or right after a Rumble. I think Rusev's initial kind of run of his dominance
I believe it, not to like step on you, I believe it's on the pre-show. Actually, it's been
so then there you go. So definitely more warm up than cool down.
Yeah.
It's like initial run of dominance was when he was unstoppable, and it was with that United States belt. So I'd like to see that, even though he's on the face side now. So it's time for the writers to put up or shut up with him, because he's kind of been squandering with almost gimmicky roles with the Rusev Day stuff. I'd like to see him with some credibility and with a real competitor. Like Samoa Joe is the perfect example. I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I mean, and I know we're getting a little off topic here, but like Samoa Joe, just incredible promos. He can like rekindle a rivalry or make a believable storyline like that out of nowhere.
The guy's a vet. His TNA stuff, if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Like he was head of that company with AJ Styles for a long time. Oh, yeah. Their X Division stuff, and you don't think of Samoa Joe as an X Division guy, but when they were in TNA, they were just awesome.
Oh yeah, totally. Matt, what do you think about this match?
Oh, I'm going with a Rusev retention. I'm on that train. Said this is everybody just wanted Rusev to get his due, and he got it. Everybody cheered, despite involving Lana getting crushed and everything. This has been a little bit of a this feud has not been a barn burner that much. Not as much reaction as we might think, and I think this is this is Rusev's time to shine.
Yeah.
He's going to get it. They tried it with Shinsuke. Maybe comes in, but like I said, he and Samoa Joe, that's demolition derby time. That's two big guys that move a lot faster than you would think from looking at them. That's a real good. That's a bull battle right there. I like that.
Yeah, interesting. Let's keep going with these pre-show matches. I think this one, another one that'll really be awesome. Again, I don't think we've seen too many title changes on the pre-show or kickoff shows rather. Of course, we have Kalisto, one of my favorites, heavily involved though with Lucha House Party, who I'm a fan of, but I think that may be a reason he's not walking out with the title. Versus Buddy Murphy, Mr. Alexa Bliss, as we call him here, Hideo Itami, and Akira Tozawa, who I'm also a fan of. It's going to be an awesome match. I love that this is a fatal four-way. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the storyline, it has something to do with like Buddy wanting more competition or wanting to take on challengers or something like that. I think this is kind of his own doing. So I think this will kind of thinking about what Matt said about him being 205 pounds. But I think this is going to kind of show his dominance after a fantastic match. So I'm just going to say Buddy Murphy, again, being on the kickoff show, retains. Let's throw it back to Matt.
Okay. I love just how this match works out on paper. Like I say, Kalisto, very solid, consistent guy. He's going to be the veteran out there.
With wins over Strowman, might I add.
With wins over Strowman.
Dumpster match.
Which Kalisto?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, well, then, Buddy Murphy's great. I love Akira Tozawa, like the intensity that he has out there. It's very that strong style, but the kind of J-Cup strong style that you see. I actually think we're going to see a title change. I think Hideo Itami, the former Kenta, just recent events in the professional wrestling world and everything. He has been mostly due to injury, kind of underperformed and underutilized over in NXT. And I think this is one more notch up, one more kind of, hey, can you stick around a while? I think that's what this is going to be.
Little politics going into this one a little bit. Interesting. Chris, any input on the Cruiserweight division?
I was kind of looking at the injury proneness of Tommy the opposite way. I thought that's the reason that they're not going to throw the belt on him. But what I liked was, so the non-main roster programs like the 205, NXT, all of those have kind of thrived with having a consistent top guy. So your 205, you got Murphy. The UK, you got Dunn, who's been running for 600 plus days. You got Tommaso Ciampa's been a pretty good run now on NXT, probably the shortest of those three. So I think consistency is key, and they're able to develop under talent under the champion without burying it. So I kind of think stick with what works and stick with Murphy.
Interesting, Murphy. Tim, you sticking with Murphy? You think he's gonna be a new cruiserweight champ? What do you think?
You know what? I'm gonna say, and I agree. I still think there's still the opportunity to have a long champion on 205 Live. So,
True.
But I've been saying it for a while that they need to really legitimize a title reign, and I think this is the match to do it in a relatively. It's a big pay-per-view. Yes, it's on the pre-show, but Murphy, I don't see a reason why he should drop the belt. He could, if they wanted to give it to Kalisto, who's been, on the live shows for a while and who's, paid his dues as far as being with the company. They could, but I mean, I'm gonna stick with Murphy to retain.
Murphy to retain. All right, and then we got one Tommy. So that should be an interesting. Like we always say here on the Bob Culture Podcast, the real winners. The fans.
There you go. Just a note: Daniel Bryan tweeted about Tommy, and he just harped back to their indie, said that the best workers that he's ever worked with. So I know if that's a precursor. We'll see if there's a title change.
Interesting. Tim gets it from all angles.
Try.
Brian giving him the proverbial rub that never hurts. Your chances of winning the title. Interesting, guys. As we're waiting for this game to load, first of all, if you are watching live on the Twitch channel right now, feel free to weigh in with who you think might win some of these matches, or if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in.
There we go.
That was me. That was me.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna play one-on-one.
Yeah,
we're here.
Good idea. Yeah, we're gonna get the game going a little bit.
As Thanos continues to kill Daniel Bryan.
Thanos.
I don't feel so good.
Yeah. I'm gonna start crying.
Too soon.
I'm sorry, guys. It hurt me to say it.
I'm gonna jump in. So obviously, surprise entrance, maybe NXT guys, maybe guys, recent news this week, the past couple weeks, and should we do the dark horse pick? What do you think? Go with the dark horse pick too? We'll see. You know what? I'll at your guys' discretion, whatever you want to do. Let's talk about the 30-man Royal Rumble match. I'm going to throw it over to Chris. Chris, first of all, who do you think might show up in this Rumble that's not announced? I believe there's 21, 22 guys announced. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Strowman at this point, as of today,
he is not.
He's not announced in the match.
Not announced.
But him coming back into the ring on Monday night, I thought was huge because, him getting out of that match with Brock, I'm thinking he's not cleared to wrestle yet. He's had that whatever on his elbow. It looks like he's ready for some in-ring action. AJ Styles, good choice, Tim.
Yeah, well, it's still the demo, so you didn't have a lot of choices.
Oh, well, there you go. That's right. Yeah, there you go. But Braun Strowman, I think may be eligible to compete in the Royal Rumble match. He is cleared to teams out. Chris, any surprises that you think coming up into the Rumble? This is the best part of the Royal Rumble.
So I love the Rumble. First of all, it's my favorite pay-per-view every year.
Yes.
I don't think Strowman is in it, or at least not an integral part of it. I have something for him stashed for later when we talk the championship match for Raw. I think surprises, this might be wishful thinking, but ever since that 1000th episode of SmackDown, there's been a little bit of rumbling about Triple H versus Batista to get that first win over him. So I would love to see Drax come in, but I don't. It's wishful. It's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking.
He's great as Drax.
Kevin Owens, they say he's still injured, but that's the WWE's MO. They say he's going to be injured for 8 months. He comes back in 2. They like to build their guys to be true superstars. I think it's going to be a breakout show for Mustafa Ali.
There you go.
Wow, nice. I like that.
That either him or Elias are probably the dark horse pick, as you called them. I love that phrase, by the way. I like how you get to have 2 picks on the show. I like that. And but I think I gotta say McIntyre has been on fire. He's clearly Vince's golden boy right now. I think it's him.
Do you think McIntyre was a
that's
heavy,
a good pick.
heavy
That's a
favorite?
Good thought.
I'll piggyback on that. I like what you're saying about Kevin Owens. You know, who apparently I think lost a lot of weight from what I've
He
seen.
looks noticeably thinner in the face in recent
Double
pictures.
knee surgery, right?
Yeah, but he, you can see his jawline through his beard now.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I get,
that,
I
that-
get,
that's he
That's
definitely
no
looks at.
indication.
We don't see any body shots, but yeah.
I get what you're saying.
It's been pointed out to me that Kevin Owens has been changing his Twitter name, like not the handle, but like the name to
Yeah.
Soon, and then it was changed to Soonish. So you know,
I'm sure he's
we know
getting
that
anxious.
we know there's an eventual comeback coming. Don't know when, so it'll be interesting. I mean, bringing him and Zayn back at the same time, I think would be great. The fans would love it.
That's great. A little known fact: Tim's actually wearing Sami Zayn's hat right now. If you notice, I did.
That's my no, it's not.
Yeah, I did.
In the
Go
in the
ahead.
chat, we have
Chris.
Doink the Clown is a surprise entrant.
Doink the hey,
There we
man.
go.
We saw Doink
Great.
over the summer at Boardwalk Beat
That's
Town.
right.
Did you?
How's he
And
looking?
Dink.
Ready to go?
And Dink. Yeah. Some other, names I'll throw in. Obviously, Strowman. I think he's going to be in it. He has to be. Otherwise, what would his involvement in the pay-per-view be?
It's just we know about the injury, but they were leaning towards having him and Brock, and that's a heavyweight match. So if you're going to put Strowman in there and he's cleared and he's ready to go, him and Brock at Mania is a marquee matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
true.
it's
it is.
possible.
That didn't happen here, of course. I'll say this now before I get into surprise entrance. If by any chance, I know this is a long shot, not really, I'm no doctor or anything. If for some reason Roman Reigns checks into this Rumble,
Oh yeah.
I will pop for it. I'll be thrilled. I think I could speak for all of us say that. Even if he comes in and wins it, I'll still be happy. I remember there's that 1 year.
If he eliminates Ray, though.
Oh, no, that's okay.
That's your boy.
This guy can do anything he wants. I'll be happy to see him in the ring. Of course, I think I speak for all of us. We say we wish him the best, fast recovery. You never know in the Royal Rumble. I think Braun is tight with him. He said, that's always great to hear.
He looks great. Recent pictures.
yeah.
He looks like $1 million.
That's good to hear, man.
Good.
That's fantastic. Some news about Matt Hardy coming out recently.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of thought he was retired just from his Twitter feed. Now he's saying, no, I'm not retired. I'm in the best condition I've ever been in. I'm healthy. So, I mean, where better for Matt to come back than the Royal Rumble?
Okay.
That's another
And
one.
if that's the case, and Bray hasn't really been on TV at all.
Oh, true. Yeah.
so,
I
I mean-
was just about to get to that.
Go ahead, Matt.
He is apparently recovered from his most recent injury. He is cleared to go, and he has seen dark match action recently. So
I would love to see him like repackaged just a little bit. Give him something different.
I think there would be one heck of a pop though when the counter gets down to 0, the buzzer goes off. There's a second or two, and then the place goes dark. The scary stuff is on the screen. That little, and then lights go on, and he's in the middle of the ring. I think that's going to get a pretty good pop if they go that way.
Pop. You would rob the fans of the chance to have their phones out and be the lights in the crowd, but it'd be okay.
They wouldn't mind.
Worth
I
it.
don't think.
Worth it.
Mr. BTG Rocks checked in here. I have no idea who that is, but I know The Rock is
Some
filming.
jabroni.
Yeah, nice. I know The Rock is filming the new Jumanji, but he's got that new WWE movie coming. He's in up at the Royal Rumble 2 vote.
Ooh.
When's the movie coming out?
Around Valentine's.
Around Valentine's.
Me versus my family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
Wrestling
that.
with my family.
I mean, it makes sense.
I know what I'm doing for Valentine's Day. Not happening.
I don't see it happen. I know he said that he's not retired from wrestling. I don't see him wrestling anytime in the near future. I would love it. It'd be fantastic, but I just don't see it happening.
What about I made a little note here. I did not want to leave this out. I'm excited to see what Kofi's got in store with his little comebacks.
Oh,
They made a joke. They made a joke about it on SmackDown. He's like,
Yeah.
"What if I don't know what to do?" And I'm sure he'll wow the crowd as always. I'll throw it back to you, Chris. I know you like NXT. You think any? I have a little list here. You think any NXT guys will pop in?
I hope every single one of them come. I just
Seriously, yeah.
That was a 30-man NXT Royal Rumble. I could definitely see. Well, last year we had a member on the Undisputed Era. We had Adam Cole, baby. So
Yes.
I think this year maybe King Ricochet makes a pop up. Maybe but more than that, I think the Velveteen Dream gets his call up.
Yeah. Oh, call up, like official call up, not just appearance in the Rumble.
I think it might turn into that. Yeah, him wearing the pants at the NXT Takeover last year that said "Vince, call me up." I think it finally pays off.
Oh, I remember that. And we had, of course, Almas was in the Rumble last year as the NXT champion. Ricochet, I think, would be another cool one. Who recently liked my tweet? I may have mentioned you guys. My DLC review for this fantastic game.
Yeah.
That will hopefully load very soon, so we can play some Rumble matches. I think Aleister Black just popping in the Rumble would just be huge. Just that entrance alone, he's one of my favorites. Obviously Gargano, he's got a lot going on now, but a huge pop for him. Again, Ciampa, like you said, everyone. I don't want to list everybody.
There's no wrong answer.
There really isn't. Velveteen Dream's a great one. I'll go with Aleister Black. Do you guys see anyone from NXT checking in or any other surprises?
I mean, we're gonna get a few. With
the recent call-ups, I mean, they kind of already have that kind of built in, and they've already introduced them to the regular audience.
But really, as far as the Rumble, the only valid person there would be EC3, unless they do both heavy machinery, right?
Which
they
should,
may.
Yeah.
They've been promoing, but they could be clear guys. You know how there's a couple guys that get in the ring. You have like 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the ring, and then you have this big guy who comes in and starts clearing the house for bigger names coming later on. They could be clear guys coming in sometime in the middle.
I just hate having tag teams in the Rumble. I'm sorry.
I was literally going to say the same thing. So go ahead.
I hate it.
Yeah,
well, Kofi's theatrics have kind of become like its own gimmick, and it's like a holiday tradition. You have to have it. Like, people don't have the cranberry sauce, but it's there on the Thanksgiving table every year. Like,
there it is.
There is never in the history, and I looked this up in preparation for this. I don't think there's ever been a tag team member who has won the Royal Rumble. It's such a waste of a spot for 2 or 3 people.
We had Shawn Michaels, and they were a tag.
But they were such solo stars. Yeah.
I concur, but I mean, they were a legit tag team for a while.
I'll actually agree with you, Chris, and I love these guys in the tag teams, and I support a lot of these guys in their careers. No, not hating on anyone, not trying to knock anyone, but yeah, it's like you said, when the tag team goes, the Usos going to the Royal Rumble, I'm like, oh, that's 2 spots, like that can't be a surprise. And I love the Usos; they're fantastic.
It's the worst. It's like Jimmy comes in at 15, you're like, damn it! Now out of the 15 left, one of them is going to be
Jay's coming at 20.
Yeah.
I get it. Nothing against the tag teams. I'm always just like, that's like one not surprise. And let's be honest, I loved last year's Royal Rumble when I was at Matt's house and the Ray popped up or came out. I was like, Mysterio, one of my favorites. And then Hurricane checks in, has a little moment with Cena. A lot of surprises, a lot of legends in the Women's Rumble. I think it's going to be hard to top, honestly. Surprises.
Do we think we get Kenny Omega?
No.
I'm going to say no. And it's a great question.
And
I'm going to say no.
It brings me up to whether it was purposeful or not, the genius move of giving that 30 spot to the mixed match challenge, because for the last couple of years, there's always been like 1,000 people in that arena out of 10,000. That number 30 goes off, and because it wasn't Daniel Bryan or it wasn't CM Punk, whoever it was got booed. Rey Mysterio Jr. got booed out of the building coming in at 30
nice.
Because he wasn't Daniel Bryan, because people just convinced themselves that doctors and contracts be damned. They're coming back. I know it. And it doesn't happen.
I don't know. Chris, what do you think? Omega, yes or no?
Omega, I mean, I would love it. I just think he's such a non-main guy. He might go to AEW. And then I saw the news that you guys were retweeting yesterday about Abyss, and I was stunned by that.
How did we not talk about that? Lifetime. He was there from day one in Impact or TNA, whatever you want to call it. We saw Abyss, Matt and I, over the summer. He was fantastic, and just what a great career, Impact Hall of Famer. Man, how cool.
I saw it as he might work in the performance center, but I was like, come on, if you're gonna get him, let him be this is the time to just have him come and go,
I couldn't agree more. Abyss versus Kane, I would say obviously Kane's doing other stuff, but he's He's been
running a city.
He's been kind of an active wrestler, like going to other countries, like here and there. Like I wouldn't rule Kane out. Obviously, one of my favorites. But just seeing Abyss versus Kane, or has anyone said anything yet about the Undertaker? Anything going on with him?
I haven't seen anything. They've been.
I wrote him down as a surprise, and I'm like, I wrote him down as a surprise. I was like, I don't know. Like, do you think? I think this might be the first WrestleMania he actually sits out.
You think he's sitting it? Wow.
He's been talking about it.
Really?
I mean, like, so last year,
wow.
like each year, it's kind of like slowly diminished. Like, right, Roman Reigns put him down, and then he had like the half a match with Cena, like let's call it, right?
Yeah.
Like, who's really like left at this point?
So that's. I think we covered all the surprises, and thank you for reminding me about Abyss. I wrote that down, but I would love to see Abyss. I mean, be happy for him if he gets a backstage job, but I say let Abyss come out with the mask. I want to hear some of that entrance. I'm sure whatever revamped entrance music he'll have. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I want to see the crowd reaction. It's not going to top Styles. I remember Tim pretty much jumped through the ceiling when Styles debuted at the Rumble.
Dude, it's been my dude for a long time.
That was awesome. And let's talk Royal Rumble winners. If you guys want to give a dark horse pick too, you can. But who do you guys think the Royal Rumble winner is going to be? I'm going to start with Tim because Tim is going to give us the Vegas numbers.
Well, now I got to pull it up.
Oh well, yeah.
I got it. We're good to go. I'm always looking out. So I think it's no surprise that Vegas thinks that Seth Rollins is going to win, and that makes total sense. So as a favorite, it just makes sense. You're building up, and this guy's been carrying Raw for a while now. His career's been all sorts of fantastic. So what's he missing? He's missing the Rumble win. He's him, and you could put him and Brock at Mania, and everyone would love it. Not only that, at the end of the night, if he was the one that points to the sign for WrestleMania, the crowd's gonna love it. So of course, he's the favorite. See, you could go a whole bunch of different ways. If you want my pick, and I know he's not in it, but I just think that the matchup is too big not to have Braun versus Brock at Mania. So I'll say Braun. I'll say Braun is my pick, even though he's not officially in yet.
I mean, I think he's a heavy favorite.
Okay.
Again, not in, but heavy favorite. Chris, you had said McIntyre already, right?
Yeah, I think McIntyre. If I had to pick a dark horse, it would be Elias, probably, or Ali.
Elias, or Elias. Okay, I got you. Matt, what do you got?
You know what? With Elimination Chamber being co-branded this year, it makes it a lot harder to pick because half your entrants were already out because Elimination Chamber's gonna be SmackDown. I guess it's gonna be a Raw winner.
Yeah,
but
right.
Now, and there are a lot of really good guys that can. Yeah, Elimination Chamber is always sitting there waiting. My dark horse would be Samoa Joe, although I do see Mustafa Ali eliminating him very late with like 4 or 5 guys to kind of continue on what's been going on with SmackDown with those two. But you got Mr. Monday Night, you got the chosen one turned prodigal son returned with Drew McIntyre.
Right.
And again, that's what Elimination Chamber is before. I think there's no way Braun doesn't go to WrestleMania one way or another, so I'm flipping the coin and saying it's going to happen with a Royal Rumble.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
he's
you.
Not even on the card yet, but I'm going to go with that.
I think that's a solid guess. I'm going to go with the Vegas numbers.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that.
No.
Yeah, Vegas is in the business of making money, so they want you to.
Vegas knows.
Yeah, they want you to wager everything else.
As I'm about to hit the phenomenal forearm here before I get these hands, I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins for a couple of reasons. Obviously, a heavy favorite. The guy deserves it. He's been carrying Raw literally on his back. I wrote that in a Raw review. A few weeks later, he said, "I'm literally carrying this show on my back," which he has. His matches are fantastic. His resumes, I mean, I know how to do this game. His resume is amazing. Shy of I lost. I cannot multitask. Shy of winning the Universal title, correct me if I'm wrong, and shy of a Royal Rumble win. 2 birds with one stone. Like he deserves the Rumble win. Seth versus Brock, which I think we've seen before. I know there was a triple. I think that'll be great. I think Seth deserves the Universal
when he
title.
cashed in, it was technically became that.
That's what it was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think Seth wrong. Last year I had picked Finn Balor to win the Rumble. That Finn Balor Brock match that's actually happening. We'll get into that next. But I will not even just to be a safe bet, purely on deserving it. Gotta go Seth Rollins.
It makes sense, and the fans would be happy.
Yeah. And I want him to capture that universal.
It kind of works better when like a face wins the Rumble, because then it's like it's a journey now to get to that WrestleMania moment.
Mm-hmm. It's
Whereas,
It's also interesting. We talked about the Elimination Chamber a little bit. I hope it's not that situation. Like, it's interesting. You finally have 6 people fighting over the title, which could change anything, which they rarely do. I think, what did they do it with Bray Wyatt? I think most recently a couple years ago. But then what happens on the Raw side is you get 6 people in the chamber fighting for the number 1 contender spot because Brock doesn't go in the chamber. It's always something like that. So I think, do we all see Brock Lesnar going into WrestleMania as the Universal Champion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't see any other path unless there's some sort of back and forth.
No.
I don't see any other path with that. Let's move on, guys. Really good stuff. Let's go right into that Finn versus Brock match that, again, I thought was going to be at WrestleMania last year. I'm excited for it. Finn deserves the opportunity. I just don't see Finn walking away with the Universal title. Like we had just said, I don't know if we all agree that Brock's going to be holding the title after this one. Could be a cool match. I know Brock has not always been open to people's ideas and putting on certain types of matches, but it could be great. It could be great.
Yeah,
I'm the guy who thinks that Finn's going to win. I'm sorry.
Show your
I'm
work.
sorry.
That's exciting.
It's like shameful because I know I'm probably wrong.
I'm excited. I hope you're right.
So here's my thing going back to what I said about the Rumble. I think Strowman, for the second, because he's already been poking his head in this, like kind of like what you said about Charlotte Flair with that title match. He's already been poking his nose into it. I think Strowman now, for the second time since SummerSlam, cost Lesnar a title, cost him the same title. And I think that match could, on its own, be a WrestleMania match. I think Lesnar's a big enough name, obviously. I think Strowman's kind of becoming that. He's already in movies now with Will Ferrell. I think that's a big enough match on its own. And it gets Balor versus someone credible, and that's why I gave McIntyre as a heel to counteract the Balor face there. So I know it's a lot of hot takes, but I'm giving it a shot.
No, it's fun, man. Sometimes we have these shows where we all agree, and we're like, okay. It's good, man. I hope you're right. I would love Finn more than deserves it.
Yeah.
What did he hold it for? Less than 24 hours? He got injured.
Injury.
Less than
I mean,
24
I see
hours.
maybe the Demon coming out.
They did address that, actually.
Damn it.
Does anyone want to weigh in on the Demon? I read some. Go ahead.
He has said publicly that the Demon's not coming out for this one. So that's...
What I had read is he said, and again, there could be a little bit behind the scenes, I'll bust it out later.
Don't expect it or something.
He said he didn't want to lean on the Demon as like a crutch in a way, I think was the quote. Which I thought was interesting because you're facing Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. Bring out the Demon, man.
This is like the big fight time to do it.
If you only
this
have
is the second
one
biggest.
bullet.
So yeah,
exactly.
You could argue that other than WrestleMania, this is probably the biggest match you can have is a Royal Rumble title match.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Honestly, I think they gotta make Finn look strong in this. Otherwise, he could, you can't really bury Finn. But I think that the fan opinion might go a little bit away if it's one of these Brock Lesnar matches where he comes in, does his 17 suplexes that the crowd counts to, and then that's it. So I think Finn's gonna look real strong, and I think it bodes well for him moving forward because I think before this year is over, Finn will strap on the belt. So so my pick is Brock with everybody else. Except Chris over there. But I think Finn's gonna look strong.
Yeah. Really interesting.
When Brock wants to play ball, he will play ball, and he had really good big man, little man matches with AJ and with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan looked like he got put through the meat grinder, but then Brock, like 2 minutes later, is selling leg kicks for a guy half his size, and it's working. So I think Finn is he won't lose too much stock off of this.
Interesting. All right, so we got 3 Brocks and a Finn. Interesting. Like we always say, real winners. Hopefully the fans on this one.
Yeah.
Let's jump into Ronda versus Sasha Banks. Interesting rivalry. Pretty much started out with Ronda Rousey inviting Sasha out, pretty much saying she's the most deserving. Sasha kind of a lot of hostility between the two of them, a lot of back and forth. What do you guys think about this match? Do you think Sasha has a chance in the world of taking back the Raw Women's Championship, or do you think this is just kind of formality?
Yeah, I'm in the formality section there. I don't think you go into, a round number WrestleMania in New York with Ronda Rousey not being the champion. She doesn't need it, but if you're gonna have it at this one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. First of all, huge Sasha Banks fan.
Oh.
Really, she's been great, more than deserving of the title. I just think they just kind of put Ronda versus Sasha Banks in the mix right now for this particular pay-per-view. Hope it'll be a great match. It'll be a nice kind of milestone, I think, for Ronda Rousey in her career. But I think the focus is going to be with Sasha and Bayley on that tag championship, which I'm very excited about. I actually think Tamina and Nia are going to end up winning that. But in that it's going to be an elimination chamber match with
that's 6 teams.
That's going to be fantastic. I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
it could be chaotic, but I'm excited about that. But I think it's going to be, what is it, the Hug and Boss connection?
Yeah, Hug and Boss.
I think that's going to be the focus. So I see Ronda, and I see this match a little bit earlier in the card. Again, I feel like Ronda and or Charlotte could get involved in the SmackDown Women's Championship match. But I'm just going to go Ronda Rousey. We pick Ronda a lot on this show.
Oh, and
go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
I just want to say, calling it now for Elimination Chamber. I think there's no way that Mandy and Sonya aren't one of those 6 teams.
Oh yeah. I 100% agree.
It's not a hard pick, but they're fairly new to that level, but they've been really stepping it up over the last few months.
Absolutely. Chris, any are you going to go with Sasha on this one, or are you sticking with Ronda?
No, I gotta say it's probably a breakout, more of a breakout match for her. She's going to be the in-ring general for the match. But yeah, you don't bring Ronda since last Royal Rumble, build her up this much, and like you said, you don't have her not have the title going into WrestleMania, especially if it's against Flair or Lynch.
True. That's right. She debuted last year at this particular event. At the end, she came out and pointed to the sign after Asuka's win.
Yes.
Very interesting. All right, short and sweet. Is that do I get everybody on that one? Tim is competing right now. I'm sorry, man.
Trying to. Haven't played.
It's all about that reversal button, that right.
It is,
right
but you only
trigger.
get a certain amount.
Yeah, you gotta hit that. It's tricky. But what do you think? Ronda Rousey retaining?
Yeah, I mean it only makes sense. She's the biggest name in the sport. Other than Charlotte Flair. So going into Mania, she needs to be champion. So it should be Rousey, but I think this is another one where they'll make Banks look strong, and it'll almost set it up for the tag championship for her and Bayley. So I think that'd be a great fit, and but I think Bayley, I think Sasha looks real strong.
Yeah, I like.
What do you think has the higher likelihood, Flair or Lynch? So Flair, the rematch of Survivor Series against Rousey, or Lynch, the match she never had to get. Never had to have at Survivor Series.
I think we may have some disagreements.
Can we find a way to get a triple threat match between Lynch,
Flair, you think it's watering it down?
If it was any other 3 people, not just any 3 women on the roster, I think it was any other 3 people that could. But they set that up with that. All 3 of them have storyline heat with each other, and. Hey, they both hate Ronda for taking that that belt away from them in the ladder match. They hate each other from their own stuff. Ronda hates them both for the trash talking and the getting whipped around with a kendo stick. So it works. And if ever there was a year that we could be seeing, a women in the main event, and not to get ahead of ourselves on that one, but that sounds like one. You have the biggest crossover name, not named Brock Lesnar. You have, again, the hottest commodity and their ace. Put them all in one match.
Interesting. Real quick, Real Critics, we know those guys, of course, on the Podcast Dummies Network, checking in. They're saying triple threat. Boom. They like that.
Mic drop.
All right, excellent.
Boom. Very cool. Guys, let's talk about AJ Styles, the phenomenal AJ Styles, who we always pick on this show for a long while now, versus Daniel Bryan for the new Daniel Bryan, I'm sorry. The WWE Championship should be another great match. Who do you guys think is walking out the WWE champion? Let's go over to Tim.
See, this is a tough one for me because I think the winner of the Rumble is going to end up challenging Brock. So with that being said, what do you do here? Daniel Bryan has had such a great run recently, and you can argue that this is, his best run that he's had as far as with fans since he won back in Mania. What Mania was that when he won?
Was it 29 or 30?
29 or 30,
yeah.
So anyway, so he's he's been fantastic lately. I don't think he drops the title here, although it could make sense and it could make for a longer stretch of these two. I could watch these two wrestle forever. They're fantastic. So if you did this for another couple months and it set up a specialty type match at Mania, whether it's they wouldn't do Hell in a Cell because it's got its own, but if they did like a cage match or something at Mania, I think it would be great. So if they did something where that happened, I would think that if this rivalry is going to keep going, that he has to drop the title to AJ. But I think it doesn't make sense because Daniel Bryan has been so fantastic. So, what do you do? I'm going to say that Bryan retains, and then we'll see what happens moving forward.
Setting up AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan right now, since we're talking about it. Matt, what do you got on?
Perfect cover.
Yeah, why not? What do you got on this one, Matt?
One of the reasons why I picked Samoa Joe as my dark horse, or semi-dark horse, or we'll call him gray horse, is because he has a history of great matches with both these guys over the past 10 years or so. And, Tim was mentioning, what do you do now? Because Daniel is owning this character that he's created. I actually see Daniel retaining. And that's kind of a on-the-spot decision right now because I think that's what will draw it out. It's wrestling, so there's always room for shenanigans. Yes. And, whatever those shenanigans may be, whether it's we haven't seen anybody getting kicked in the crotch in a while. That's always there.
Wear a cup, AJ.
It was the thing to do for a while. It was like all month, just nothing but crotch shots. And all of a sudden they went away. That could be the surprise Rumble. That could be. And like again, in specialty, Joe wins the Rumble. One against either one of them. That's going to be the Savage Steamboat part of the evening. It's not the draw, but it's for the purists to go home happy that they got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I would find it hard to believe that Vince would allow two former TNA guys to square off at his WrestleMania. But I would love to see it.
Yeah, maybe again. He's got a lot of former TNA guys in there, whether he sees them as that or not.
Yeah,
maybe he sees them as his trophies now because he stole them.
But look what he did with Sting, even though he got him late in his career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's I'll piggyback on both those things you guys are saying, and this is my little curveball for the evening. I'm not saying this is gonna happen. Like, let me have this disclaimer. I'm not saying this is gonna happen, all right? But this is a little bit of a curveball. Matt's talking about shenanigans. I see real critics over here saying it's gonna end in a DQ or a count out.
Keep it going. Keep it. We could watch him wrestle forever. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's gonna be a great match. Vince McMahon has involved himself a lot in a lot of this storyline. There was that backstage, sequence with what AJ punching Vince after he fired him up.
Well, I want to see the animal.
Yeah.
Show it to me.
Which was kind of out of the blue and interesting. Okay, everyone's kind of, you get a heel turn, but you like that. But essentially, so Styles is fired up, and then this week on SmackDown, Vince comes to the ring to kind of do the, not really contract signing, but kind of the face-to-face with Bryan and Styles. I just thought out of the gate that was really odd that Vince came out to do it. Yes, I know the McMahons are running the show. It would make sense for Shane to do it at this time. But I just thought it was really interesting that Vince was involved. I'm not saying this is going to happen. Maybe, how old is Vince McMahon right now? You see where I'm going with this?
He's
giving it one last shot.
Yeah, pushing it 70.
Just the way things are going, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It almost seems like there's something going on between Vince McMahon and AJ Styles. Remember when Vince used to, come into the ring for WrestleMania? It almost feels like it's in the background. I don't see it happening. I don't see it. It seems like, I would say, maybe it'll be Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. They did that already, but it seems like there's some Triple H versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. There seems to be some sort of connection there. I'm not saying Vince is getting in the ring, but that's what I'm thinking. Long story short, I think that obviously Daniel Bryan's going to retain. I know Styles wants a little bit more of a reduced schedule. Really wants to spend time with his family, and he had a great run.
His reportedly his contract is up at the end.
Ooh.
Styles?
Yes, he has said from the beginning on his signing with WWE that I am here so I can say I did it and to make a lot of money on my way out. I don't know how much longer I can do this. He's still in fantastic shape, still moves great.
He's a crowd favorite, like it's nobody's business.
He wants to spend time with his 4 kids, 5 kids, but at the same time, you got to feed, house, and clothe 4 kids, 5 kids.
Yeah.
Just count the tattoos. Aren't the tattoos on his?
I know. I might be missing one.
He might have 6.
The dates.
7.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm getting creative here, but I'm going to say, why not Triple H versus, although Triple H and Shawn Michaels look really winded in that last match. They're like, we're too old for this.
At one point, Shawn turns to Trips and totally goes, we're too old for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right at the end of the match, yeah.
But I don't see where this Vince involvement is coming from. I think Daniel Bryan retains. Who didn't we?
I mean, honestly, you guys said everything I had written down. I think this goes on for one more at WrestleMania. I think that will be a stipulation. I think Daniel Bryan retains and he puts over Styles at WrestleMania. That's the only thing I would add.
Interesting. We get everybody on that one?
Yeah, I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem. We could watch this feud for a couple more months, so they really shouldn't do anything to jeopardize that. So it
Vince is way too busy with the XFL on the chat.
Nice.
And Real Critic says fight forever.
Yeah,
it is. Exactly. Thank you, Real Critics.
Which I love.
I would clap, but I'm
it is really kind of crazy to think that you finally get this feud and AJ Styles is playing the heavy. He's playing the brute in this, and Daniel Bryan is the heel. Like how crazy is that when you think about that, given their history, respectively.
All right, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're up to the ladies, or women's, I should say, Royal Rumble match. We already know that Mella is number 30. Mm-hmm. I do not see Mella winning it. Let's talk about surprises again first. You can do your dark horse picks, if you please. Daniel Bryan keeps kicking out of everything. This is crazy. I had a phenomenal forearm. I had a Styles Clash. He's unstoppable. I mean,
and that's why they can fight forever.
That's right.
This is awesome.
So I think there were about 21 or 22 again announced for the Women's Rumble. We had a lot of legends last year. I don't know if you guys see that happening again.
Yeah.
Any surprises? Do you guys see any Bellas? Do we see any Bellas coming in?
Did they just start their new season of their show? I'm sure they could promo that. So I'm sure one of them will be in there, you know, as a somewhat promo.
Any Trish Stratus, any Lita, or has that been, you know, we did that last year?
I think, you know, I don't think we're going to see a lot of returns of legends from last year. I think a lot of that was padding the numbers a little bit. I believe on
they've already confirmed like 23 or so.
Okay.
23?
23, okay.
So pre here. So there's not really that much room for veterans or surprises.
I think
you gotta assume again a couple NXT, a couple veterans, a couple old timers. That's about it.
And wasn't it rumored that Viper, aka Piper Niven from Mae Young, has signed?
I
recently?
believe so. Yes.
So that would be, you know, she was kind of a bit of a break. Her and Toni Storm were the breakouts of the original Mae Young. So I could see her, or you know, definitely out of the NXT roster, they're bringing in Toni Storm.
Oh, true. True. And
I'd love to see Shayna Baszler out there.
I was literally, dude, same brain again, man.
Sorry if I just saw that.
No, it's good, man. No, I'm saying, this is why we keep asking you back, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Shayna Baszler, regardless if she wins or loses on Saturday, I think sure she shows up. Again, we always talk about that 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen of an MMA match. That would be kind of a WrestleMania. It's too early for the girls in NXT are just getting started.
Yeah.
But we always talk about that. But definitely Shayna Baszler I see popping up in the Rumble. So I guess that covers it for surprises, right? Anything?
I mean,
I don't think there's any returns. Got anybody injured out?
We had the announcement that Alexa Bliss will be participating.
That's huge. How could we miss it? Great job. I'll kick it off here. You know, I kind of said it earlier. I think picking up from our TLC podcast, I think, as you can see from my shirt, the man, I think Becky Lynch is going to headline WrestleMania. You know, bold statement. I think she could win the title that night, but I think she needs to just go in that Rumble and just, you know, show her dominance. I mean, who's hotter in wrestling right now than Becky Lynch?
No, and
Tony Khan. That's about it.
I'll take a little bit of what Tim had said about Asuka on last year's podcast. You know, she needs to go in there and run through everybody, you know, as much as she can. And, you know, the big thing will be, oh, you know, I lost to Asuka. You know, it'll look like, oh, maybe she wants that rematch with Asuka at WrestleMania, which would be a great match. But I think just it writes itself. Like I keep saying, that Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch headlining WrestleMania match,
or Ronda versus Charlotte,
or a triple threat,
or some sort of triple threat. Yeah, I mean,
I know you're thinking it might go another way.
But the problem with that is you have to get Charlotte over to Raw. So how do you do that? You do that with a Royal Rumble win.
That does it.
That's the only conceivable way that I think you're not going to do a shakeup right now. Usually the shakeups come after Mania. So the only way to do that, if you're planning to do that, is the Rumble.
Right.
But, you know, if you do that, you need somebody to carry the SmackDown Women's title. So at some point, Becky has to get it. So I'm interested really to see how they lay out the matches. Like I said before, I think
the order,
yeah, the order is going to be very, very crucial.
Telling, yeah.
So I mean, it logistically makes sense for a Rumble to open it and a Rumble to close it. It allows for a lot to happen in between.
Last year? I know they closed with the Women's Rumble.
Yeah.
I forget what they had, but they
might have started with the men. You might be right.
They may have.
They might have.
But
yeah.
I love last year. But go ahead, Tim.
It'll be really interesting because I think you can do a lot with the story if you put the Women's Rumble later in the evening. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I gave my pick. I just think that I hate going with the favorites. I like to see other things happen.
Yeah.
But I think Rousey and Charlotte would be just phenomenal for women's wrestling at Mania of the name them. So I think Charlotte's gonna be it. Now, if you're giving me a dark horse, I guess you can't really count out Nia Jax, right? She's yeah. So I just don't think that she is the name to headline WrestleMania right now. When it's a fantastic time for women's wrestling, you need names, big names moving forward.
Yeah,
so,
and we got those. I think Charlotte's a safe pick, a safe bet. And don't forget, she was not in the Royal Rumble, nor was Alexa Bliss last year.
That's
They
correct.
were the current. I think they were sitting ringside.
World champs.
Yes.
Yep.
So, Charlotte's a safe bet. I'm going to throw it over to Matt on this one, just because of the stuff he was saying about Charlotte earlier. Are you going with Charlotte on this?
Oh, I'm going with Charlotte.
Oh yeah, really? Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a shame, and also kind of getting into some of the news that apparently some sources are reporting that Ronda is kind of giving them a timetable.
The schedule's been tough for her.
Yeah, and she has plans. She and her husband are ideas of starting a family, and she told them originally this was going to be a short original run. But yeah, if you're going to have one chance at Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, you only have two options right now, Becky and Charlotte, and I think they had their eyes on Charlotte for longer, and they're going to stay with it.
Interesting. All right, so sticking with Charlotte.
Sticking with Charlotte.
Can't go wrong with a flash. So we have two Charlottes. I'm going Becky, which earlier,
fine choice.
Yeah, earlier I had said I'm going with a curveball, and I'm going to say Becky Lynch is going to win the Royal Rumble, even though she's not in the match. But that seems to be
that doesn't stop us.
Yeah,
no, she's not in the match.
That's like Strowman. Yeah,
that's not going to stop the man.
No, it's yeah, that's right. And the consensus on the line has been Rumble too. And
Chris, did you give your pick yet?
It's that Stone Cold.
No, I think Tim, you're 100% dead on. There's been such a swirl, a groundswell of we want the women to mainline or main event WrestleMania and all pay-per-views really, and I think you do that with big names. You do that with Rousey. You do that with a Flair. At the end of the day, this is the WWE, and they're going to put a Flair over. Let's just get that right at the gate. Triple H's mentor, that's Mr. Ric Flair. And I love what they wrote in the chat here. Flair coming out at number 2 like Papa did and winning the whole thing.
Nice.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
I love that.
That would be a nice little homage. Good call.
They just had the anniversary of the Tear in My Eye Royal Rumble that he won. I think they were tweeting that out all over social media. So the story writes itself. It's very poetic.
Yeah, interesting. Any dark horse picks?
Did we lose Chris?
Oh, wait,
he's back.
You're back.
Maybe.
We lost you for a second. Any dark horse picks, Chris? Yeah, okay. Well, it's a real draft.
He'll come back. It'll be okay.
Sorry. I think I'm back. Sorry about that.
No,
yeah.
We were asking, did you have any dark horse?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I would
bro.
either say Ember Moon or I'm like a big
that's a good one.
I'm a Corey Graves mark when it comes to Mandy Rose, so I would love to see that too.
Nice. Nice.
Guys got any
You could definitely trot her out in front of about 80,000 people.
Yeah, I would be okay with that for sure.
I mean, how do you not have Flair and Rousey at me? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it just makes sense from a business standpoint. Best for business. It's that.
Oh, gotta go with the man. I'm telling you guys.
So
she'd be great.
I still like her idea that she gets into that triple threat. I just think in a direct way. There's a long road to WrestleMania. This is only the very beginning of that road.
You are right.
The beginning,
and they have been lately just disregarding the fact that if you win the Rumble, you get the title shot at me. They've been putting it up for grabs. They've been doing this, that, and the other thing. So maybe they got something in the works.
Yeah, don't forget we have Elimination Chamber. That kind of shakes things up a little bit. But it's all interesting to see. Like you said, Chris, the road to WrestleMania really does start here. And I'll tell you what, the Bob Culture Podcast, the Pop Break Podcast Dummies, we'll all be covering it. Mm-hmm. WrestleMania is coming to town. Chris, you going to be there?
I
I'm taking that as a yes. All right. We lost Chris again, but that's okay. We're flying through there. Obviously, we'll be at WrestleMania. We're going to be podcasting live, tailgate. I heard Matt is making some brisket, which I'm excited about.
Damn.
Yeah.
How do you think I got invited?
Damn.
I mean, that's what we need. And it's always a pleasure having him. So, Chris, if you can or can't hear, he's waving.
Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure having you. Tim, welcome back to the podcast. We'll be talking about the big game, hopefully, next week.
The big
game, because we can't say the other thing concerning
next week.
a giant series.
Yes.
Thing. And the Anti-Smark, of course, follow Matt on thepopbreak.com. He does a SmackDown review every week, and it's fantastic. We love the one-liners. My personal favorite, what was it, when Mandy Rose gives you a hotel room key? What was it? I'll think about it.
Yeah, he says, what are you going to do? I don't know. Wrong answer. Every man.
Yeah. That was my favorite part. Guys, thank you for a few minutes. Always a pleasure. Make sure you watch the Royal Rumble. It's starting a special start time, 5 p.m. Sunday.
Oh, my goodness.
On the WWE Network.
Wow.
That's a 6-hour show.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's always our favorite. I got the I make the every year. I do like all the blank 30 spots, and you fill in who's coming to what spot. It's really fun. I'll send you a quiz.
You gotta send me that. I want that.
Oh, it's a ton. It just makes it way more fun. It's great. But gentlemen, thank you for a few minutes. We always have a good time, and we will see you next time here on the Bob Culture Podcast. We're out. Peace.
Later.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this episode of the Bob Culture Podcast. Don't forget to support the show on patreon.com/Bob Culture Podcast for some great incentives. I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons Jay Crow, Shannon Cruz, and of course Mike and Michelle Vermillion from Sledgepad Innovations. Sledgepad is the bass drum dampening system used by national acts like Pink, Goo Goo Dolls, Cher, Collective Soul, and a whole bunch more. Check them out at sledgepad.com. And of course, if you're a fan of the show, please subscribe on YouTube, check us out at podbean.com, and leave me a review at iTunes.